In 2016 now, a New York knockout for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in the Empire State primary. Next Tuesday's primaries are in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, and Delaware, and Rhode Island. It just might be the end of the road, though, for one or more of the candidates. Joining us live in the newsroom, Stephan Thompson with the GOP. He's a political strategist for the GOP and Governor Walker advisor. And in our studio is Joe Zepecki, a Democratic political strategist and former state communications director for President Obama and Mary Burke. All right, guys, 2 weeks ago, the narrative coming out of Wisconsin was the Wisconsinites were saying it's a no-go to the front runners, but they both got their mojo back in New York. Why? What changed? Was it just the home field advantage, Stephan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at the fact that John Kasich won Ohio, Ted Cruz won Texas, Donald Trump won New York. I don't think that we should overreact to what happened yesterday, and I think that what we've seen over the course of this race has been a seesaw. We've gone back and forth between the different candidates, and I anticipate that that's what's going to continue to happen between now and June 7th.
Joe, on your side?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is that New York had a closed primary and Wisconsin's primary, as we know, was open. A lot of independents participated. Here in Wisconsin, Bernie Sanders won 72% of the independents who voted on the Democratic side. Senator Sanders has struggled in closed primaries, and New York was another example of that.
All right, let's talk about Donald Trump. As everybody knows, he probably had his worst 2 weeks in Wisconsin and perhaps his best two in New York. He made some changes to his staff. He brought in Governor Walker's former guy, Rick Wiley. He stopped saying stupid things on Twitter. Here's what he said last night.
We don't have much of a race anymore based on what I'm seeing on television. Senator Cruz is just about mathematically eliminated.
So, Stephan, is it time for the Republican Party to start rallying around Donald Trump, or will he just dig in deeper?
Well, I think that it isn't necessarily the party, it's the voters and the delegates. The rules are clear, and they're the same for every candidate. Donald Trump needs to win a majority of the delegates to be the party's nominee. And what we're going to see over the next month and a half is hand-to-hand combat to accrue delegates. If Donald Trump can't get organized, you know, the fact that he brought in a new staff right now is the equivalent of changing quarterbacks in the fourth quarter. I think that, you know, he's going to be in a really tough spot heading into Cleveland if he can't get there ahead of time.
Senator Sanders says he's taken the day off to recharge his batteries. Some have suggested his campaign has taken a more destructive tone. Last night, Hillary Clinton reached out to Sanders supporters.
And to all the people who supported Senator Sanders, I believe there is much more that unites us than divides us. The race for the Democratic nomination is in the home stretch, and victory is in sight.
All right, is it time for Bernie to go, or will the road to the convention continue to be bumpy, Joe?
I think Senator Sanders has more than earned the right to run through the rest of the calendar. I do think, though, that he's going to have to be very careful about his tone. And as your colleague Chuck Todd was saying last night, he needs to start thinking about how he lands the plane and brings this to an end in a way that the party then unites and squarely focuses on Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or whoever the Republicans nominate.
What does he want?
I think that if I was him, I would believe that he would want a bigger voice, a bigger role in the Democratic Party, to be an advocate and lead on some of the issues around which he has galvanized so much support. And I think there's absolutely a role for him if he figures out how to wind this down the right way. If I were him, I'd be very worried that if he does sort of a scorched earth strategy, it's going to be very difficult for him to continue to influence the Democratic Party in the years to come.
All right, still a lot to talk as we move through the final weeks here. Thank you both for joining us. You can get more political coverage of the presidential race on our website. Just log on to tmj4.com/decision2016.